Professor Dr. Vishwanath Karad, young Rahul Karad, Gurumurthy, other dignitaries on the dais, and invitees to this Students' Parliament, and my enthusiastic, energetic young friends. I've been asked to speak on whether consumerism is consuming India. I must compliment Rahul Karad for always framing issues which have two sides. And therefore, it leads to a more comprehensive assessment. So we are talking about consumerism. What is it? What does it do? Where it arises from? And India, is it badly affected? Is it deteriorated as a result of this aspect, that is consumerism? Let me begin by invoking Gandhi. One of Gandhi's very devout followers, a very respected man, came to the Fergusson College as a visitor in the 1940s before independence. And my uncle was a student at that time. And my uncle had told me that a young man, as energetic as one of you here, asked him, what plans do you have to improve the standard of living of Indians once India becomes independent? The answer the Gandhian gave is one very specific view. He said, my friend, why do you want to increase the standard of living? Increase the standard of satisfaction. Consuming something, enhancing your income, enhancing your expenditure, expanding your own presence is not necessarily satisfaction. Are you interested in consumption? Are you interested in merely acquiring things? Or are you interested in being a better and a happier human being? Now, this is one view. We have to remember that this view was expressed by a man who was born in the 19th century, in the steam age, before the automobile, the telephone, the television, and many, many gizmos and gadgets, many fast foods, concrete buildings, highways, all of these were invented. So he belonged to a very mature society, a very mature line of thought, but that was the old world. The world changes. Modern world has evolved. We live in this world. We don't live in the world of the 19th century. We are in the 20th century. The iPad, the mobile phone, the scooter, the motorcycle, the aeroplane are all realities. When you use a shampoo or you eat some ready-made food or you use a better quality of soap, you have to do so in order to be at a level of performance, efficiency in society which is expected. You can go and say, I want to lie on the banks of the Ganga, wear nothing but a langoti, and look at the Ganga and feel happy. Or if you are more modern, you may say, I will go to the beach in Goa, and I will lie there and I don't want to do anything else. Then you are not consuming. Will you be happy? Can you sustain yourself? Have you the wherewithal to completely shun consuming anything? If not, then you have to understand what is the level of consumption that you are obliged to have, without which you can't be competitive, modern, creative, and be in synchronization with the world around you. So consumerism should not be condemned out of sight. There is an example. Water, if it enters the boat sinks. But if there is no water, you cannot run the boat. For the boat to float, to go from one place to another, you need water. But you should not allow the water to get into the boat, because if that happens, the boat sinks. The situation with consumption is similar. You need consumption. And you need sufficient consumption in order to be successful, efficient, effective. But if you become just a consumer, then you are liable to sink like that boat full of water. So consumerism has to be looked at in a very balanced manner. You can't condemn it outright, and you can't embrace it in a hedonistic manner to say, I just want to have a fling in life. You have to do both things. Consumption does put a load on the earth. When we have millions of automobiles, and when we have so much electricity being produced, so many boilers being run, we do pollute the atmosphere. When we take minerals out, we do attack the environment. So we have to be clear that there are costs to be paid for the modern society. But can you say that I will not live in the modern society? That is an intention which is extraordinarily difficult to meet. In today's world, a fridge, a watch, a laptop, an iPad, all of these are essential. And therefore, having such things is, in my opinion, not consumerism. It is consumption, and it is valid consumption in current times. You look at the way our country has changed. I would like to take you back a little bit in history. India, 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, was a Dravidian, a Shraman society, a highly evolved society, which we now call Indus Valley civilization. Peaceful society. No arms or armaments have been found in Indus Valley sites. No temples are found. A society which was orderly, organized, lived by agriculture, lived in a societally compatible way, lived by a set of values. The Aryan invasions transformed the society into an aggressive, conquering society. India changed. Morals changed, values changed. Then came the Muslim invasions and the Mughals. Again, India changed. Complete transformation. As different from the Aryan society as the Aryan society was from the pre-Aryan society. Then came the colonialists. A few hundred years ago, they came and they brought modern education, they brought the company, they brought the bank, the insurance company. These transformed Indian society. Do you know the name of the bank of the Mughals or the insurance company of the Peshwa? Did not exist. If India modernized in the last 200 years, it was because the joint stock companies were introduced, which could create wealth. Insurance companies were introduced because they spread risk, and enterprise was possible, development was possible, investment was possible, employment was possible. So there was a huge transition to a new set of values and a new kind of society. Gandhi transformed India in the early part of last century. Gandhi's period is roughly from 1920 to 1950, 30 years. But in those 2.5 decades, Gandhi changed India. New set of values. Gandhi was not alone. Vivekanand, Tilak, Tagore, Gandhi, these people created a new set of values. They were not Western, they were modern. Each one of them had a set of ideals which were extremely modern, but they did not jettison the intrinsic values created in this country over centuries and eons. Today, in 2014, we are standing in the post-Hazare age. The impact that Gandhi had on India was to create the urge for freedom as a mass movement. Was Tilak a smaller man? No, he was a great scholar, a very burning nationalist, courageous man. But he was not a mass leader. He was an intellectual of the highest order. Gandhi was a mass leader. Gandhi was an intellectual, no doubt. Gandhi basically told our people, you stand up. And he taught us the message that freedom has to be won by every generation. It is not something handed down to you. You want freedom? Stand for it. In the post-Hazare era, we are again awakened. This generation has to examine again, what do we want of this country? How do we want our country to run? Are we a corrupt country? Are we a misled country? Are we a badly governed country? Are all our laws wrong? Must we wreck everything? Can we not modify? Can we not improve? These are important issues. It is said that a person who is not a socialist before the age of 25 has no heart. A person who remains a socialist after 25 has no head. You have to think. I was listening to the young leaders making passionate appeals. I admire their passion. I admire their zeal. But I have to say that there is much more to life, much more to the question of how our society should be than merely wanting distributive justice. I will give you a small example. Most people who get married, freshly married or are about to get married, only think of the bed. They don't think of the responsibilities that come in life afterwards. They have to run a family, to look after children, have to look after old people. That is important. So today, when we stand on the cusp of history, when we are looking at a new age in India, I want to challenge the young people here. Don't get overexcited. An overheated engine fails. An efficient engine is one which is cooled by the coolant of rationalism, of reason. I want the young people to respect the fact that we don't only want change, we want change for the better. So consumerism is not necessarily bad. You cannot live without consumption. And is it consuming India? If you say consumerism is consuming India, then somehow you are making a connection between the corruption that you see and the overconsumption that you see and the depravity and the poverty and the misery that you see as being connected with consumerism. This is a mistake, in my opinion. I believe very sincerely that we have to put aside political issues. Politics is presenting an argument in a manner which appeals to people for the sake of grabbing power. That is politics. Make an argument about anything irrational. Hindu versus Muslim, Maratha versus non-Maratha, North Indian versus South Indian, whatever, Tamil versus Marathi, Hindi versus Gujarati. These are all political issues. Our politicians in the last over half a century have misled us on two fronts. One is they sold us the wrong medicine. They told us that socialism delivers. I'm sorry, it does not. Every socialist country in the world which failed has changed. China has changed, Russia has changed, the whole of Eastern Europe has changed. There's only Cuba hanging in there and North Korea. Those of you who feel that this kind of aggressive socialism is going to deliver, please emigrate to Cuba or North Korea. If you want India to be prosperous, then you have to have a more balanced approach. You have to look for growth. You cannot get rid of consumerism. When Islam came to India, or when colonialism came to India, did we need it? Did we invite them? Its time had come. It came on a great big horse and it destroyed everything in front of it. Time of consumerism has come. You cannot avoid consumption. You cannot avoid modernity. The trick is in recognizing this, that we want to be modern, but we don't want to be Western. Look at Japan. Japan is the most modern country you can see. Social equity, cleanliness, discipline, productivity, global ability to project their economic power. What is Japan? It's smaller than the state of Maharashtra. The global power. They are not militaristic. But believe me, if they choose, within 5 years, it will be a global military power. That is their competence. They built it on good education, on good policies, on sticking to their social values. They are consumerist, but up to a point. Minimalists in the broad sense. So we want to see that India does not lose sight of the need to grow. 7,000 young, fresh, energetic faces. I want to say that in India, every day, every single day, there is need for 100,000 new jobs. That is the rate at which our population is growing. Can you produce 100,000 new jobs merely by distributive justice? I'm not against distributive justice at all. But it is like distributing something which is notional, which is not there. So you need growth first. And if you are going to have growth, you have to have policies which support growth, not policies which simply support distribution. And what is growth? Growth is built on discipline, it is built on rational clarity, it is built on economic understanding. Economics is far more important than politics. Politics is like bhel puri. Economics is dal roti. Let us not get carried away with the bhel puri. Let us look at what is going to provide to 1 lakh new job seekers every day a satisfactory job. Let us look at what is going to give him the standard of living that he desires. He is not going to go and live on the banks of the Ganga. He wants to live in a city. He wants to have a respectable job. He wants to have a proper house. He wants to have a family life. He wants to have dignity. How will you give it to him? You can only give it to him if you create prosperity and wealth. To create prosperity and wealth, you have to embrace, understand, tame, control consumerism. But you cannot do without it. In this world, to want to be a sadhu is not an option. India is fast polarizing. In the last 1 year, the thinking of the average Indian has changed dramatically. We are on the cusp of another change. When the Mughal power came and the old feudal Raja Maharaja India ended, the whole country changed. When the British came, and the Mughal Raj ended, when India won freedom, all the old power positions were gone. New power positions arose, new equations arose. I want to submit for your consideration that we are standing at the cusp of another major change. In the next year or two, our country will change dramatically. That it will change dramatically is indisputable. Whether it will change for the better is if we follow policies which ensure that we consume, we create, we distribute in a sensible manner based on market economics. Market economics is not pawning our country or lending our country to Tata and Birla. The wrong concept. Market economic means consumer, you, who are buying a mobile phone or a motorcycle or a t-shirt or a Coca-Cola or whatever it is, you decide what you want. That is market economics, competition, transparent competition. So I want to submit that we cannot do without consumption, that we have to cater for that consumption. We have to create the growth. And when we create that growth, we have to ensure that our enduring values of society are protected, that we don't just westernize for the heck of it, but we must modernize. And we must be moderate. Gandhi's message was economic and social. The economic message was be self-sufficient, self-reliant, be creative. Khadi was not a fad. It was to make you self-reliant. And the other message was be conciliatory. Do not go into the phase of accusation and trying to break society. Nehru tried that and failed. We have to have a conciliatory society. We have to understand the difference between what the Congress stands for, what the BJP stands for, and what the Aam Aadmi stands for. I'm not for anarchy. Anarchy is very easy to do. It's easy to destroy. It's difficult to build. The task for the youth is to build. A sensible youth will never destroy. Don't think of consumerism as consuming India. Think of consumerism as how it can enrich the lives of people living in India. How can it be better distributed? How can it be better created? I'm sure all of you who are here have the capacity to contribute to change in India and have the capacity to think. Don't act before you think. This is the American system of management. Have you seen Western movies where the cowboy shoots a gun? So, fast draw and shoot. But there the problem is he shoots first and aims later. You need to aim and then shoot. So I want the youth to think, what is consumerism? Is it consuming our society or is it something which is necessary? And if it is necessary, how are we going to control it? How are we going to create more? How are we going to distribute better? I am sure you will do your best to take the country you love forward. Best of luck.